Good morning. I'm the Reverend Rachael Hayes, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and old. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Today, we are talking about covenant. I light our chalice and call us to worship with these words from the Reverend Teresa Ninan Soto. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. Only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and place, to this community even, tenderly interconnected, this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey alone as though you are made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth. I light the chalice where I am, and I invite you to light a chalice, candle, or lamp where you are too. A long, long time ago, back before history, there was a flood, the stories say. Many cultures have a flood story from the beginning of time, but I'm going to tell the story of Noah's flood, which is a Jewish story you can read in the Bible, in the book of Genesis. And like some other stories in the Bible, God is one of the main characters, and the other main character is a man named Noah. Noah and God were friends, as much as a human could be friends with the creator of the universe. They took walks, and God told Noah, this planet needs a do-over. It's really not working out the way I hoped. The people are hurting each other. So what you need to do is to build a wooden ark, a boat 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. It's going to have 3 levels, and you're going to take 2 of each kind of land animal and bird and the food for them, and you're going to keep them safe in the ark with your family. Noah did what God had told him, and after Noah's family and all the animals were on board, God sealed the ark. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and there was a great flood. All the people and animals not on the ark died in the flood. Only Noah and those with him in the ark were left. The waters rose over the earth for 150 days. Then God sent a wind And the rain blew away, and the waters began to go down. After another 150 days, the mountaintops appeared from below the surface of the water. Noah sent a raven to fly out over the waters, and it didn't come back. Noah sent out a dove, and it came back without finding a place to land. He waited a week, then he sent the dove out again, and it returned with an olive sprig. A week later, he sent the dove out a third time, and it didn't come back. Noah opened the door of the ark, and he and his family and all the animals went out onto dry land. Noah made a sacrifice to God, and God was pleased. God thought, I will never destroy every living thing again. As long as the earth exists, seed time and harvest, cold and hot, summer and autumn, day and night will not cease. And God blessed all the animals, and God blessed Noah's family. God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I am now setting up my covenant with you, with your descendants, and with every living being with you, with the birds and with all the animals of the earth. I will set up my covenant with you so that never again will all life be cut off by floodwaters. And this is my storyteller's mind, not the Bible, but I think here a rainbow appeared. God said, this is the symbol of the covenant that I am drawing up between me and you and every living thing with you on behalf of every future generation. I have placed my bow in the clouds. It will be the symbol of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember the covenant between me and you and every living being among all the creatures. Floodwaters will never again destroy all creatures. The rainbow will be in the clouds, and upon seeing it, I will remember the enduring covenant between God and every living being of all the earth's creatures. God said to Noah, this is the symbol of the covenant that I have set up between me and all creatures on earth. And since then, rainbows have been the symbol of many things, but first they were the symbol of God's covenant with Noah and all living beings. And now, if you will allow for a big switch up from stories before history to our own present and future, I would like to introduce Johnny Williams. Hi, Johnny.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
So Johnny is joining us as our new youth and young adult coordinator. They're a Hampshire college grad. They play lots of instruments. They attended the Unitarian Church of Evanston during high school. They live in Florence. So Johnny, I told a very old story about covenant, but what do you think of when you think of covenant?
I think of a few things. I mean, I think of that story, the Noah's Ark story. I think about like sacred agreements in a community. When I was a camp counselor at Farm and Wilderness, we created a set of community guidelines in my cabin, which we didn't call a covenant, but I think it's similar in a way in that they're guidelines that we can follow and revisit when conflicts arise. So it's a way to kind of create a set of agreements that people can come back to in the future if people feel like those agreements haven't been being followed. I also think about the term coven as in like a group of people with a common interest or a group of 13 witches in a community, because that word is very similar to covenant. And yeah, those are kind of my associations with that term.
Okay, thank you. Something that I think about is the covenant that we recited every week at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Boca Raton, which is where I did my ministerial internship. It goes like this. Love is the doctrine of this faith, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, to the end that all shall grow into harmony. Thus do we covenant with one another. When I was in seminary, I worked a lot with the Metro New York youth. And when I say youth here, I mean high schoolers rather than kids or young adults. There's a lot to love about Unitarian Universalist youth culture. They take Unitarian Universalism and make it their own. They make it fit their needs, and they make it serve the world. The youth write beautiful covenants at every gathering they hold. The clauses of the covenants take a little deciphering the first time you encounter them, but they are effective and part of their community life. Clauses like no yucking yums, no harshing mellows, and croissants, not donuts. No yucking yums means respecting other people's personal tastes. If somebody puts something unusual on their bagel, it doesn't change how your bagel tastes, right? Same thing for other preferences that are not food. No harshing mellows means not countering a person or group's good mood. Read the room. If a group of people are enjoying something, no need to ruin the moment. Croissants, not donuts. Takes a little more work. Croissants, not donuts is the visual representation of being an inclusive community. To be inclusive, the community can't be a closed circle. There needs to be space for the new person to enter. So not a donut, but a croissant, an open circle. And the Metro New York youth actually use these covenants. I have sat in the floor of a congregation space talking with youth and their adult advisors in that sort of crescent shape. A couple people sit down in the vacant space, and somebody actually might say, croissant, not donut, and the circle widens again. People scoot out over and over until a 4-person conversation has grown to a 12-person conversation. The trick is opening the circle before the new person looks for a place to sit or a conversation to join. Unless you're already good friends, most people will not come up to you and wiggle into your conversation. Finding no space, the new person probably goes away. So let's make a space before it's needed. This is the real-time embodiment of inclusive community. I love it. And I love that it is a decision they make, not just when they turn to open the conversation, but when they write the covenant. The covenants in the back of our hymnal sound a lot like the Boca Raton covenant rather than the youth covenant, written in direct democracy that weekend with everyone in the room. But they both point to what kind of community we want to have. What I love about the Boca Covenant is that we repeated it every week. Pre-literate children in the congregation could recite it from memory. Even if they don't know exactly what all the words mean, they're making it part of themselves. What I love about the Youth Covenant and other contemporary covenants is that they give us a little more clue how to use them. When everyone knows what it means, croissants, not donuts, is something we can change up in a moment. Other slightly more covenants without bakery-based metaphors might say things like, we strive to build an inclusive community and preemptively welcome all who wish to be part of it. Did you know that this congregation does not have a covenant? Various committees and groups within this congregation have covenants, but we do not have a covenant that says who we want to be together and how we want to treat each other. I'd like to change that. I'd like to make it so that we have a blueprint for how to build this community that is always becoming by our actions and words. Community isn't a thing, it's a process. And a covenant can make it clear how we want this process to run. Otherwise, the process will run the same way it has always run, which works for some of us, but certainly not for all of us, and the people it works for stay, and the people it doesn't work for drift away. A covenant can build in ways to say, let's do that differently in the future. And it can also make explicit the things that work really well so that no one has to figure them out by intuition. Proving belonging by intuition is a really great way to stay a closed circle, receiving no newcomers. And I'd really rather be a croissant. I hadn't listened to the Noah story for a long time, even though it was one of my favorites growing up. And I was struck by the rainbow. God doesn't tell Noah, when you see the rainbow, you remember the covenant. God says, when I see the rainbow, I will remember the covenant. First off, I like that because I'm a person who needs reminders, and I appreciate that God is setting up reminders for themselves. But that's not the whole thing. God knows they will need to come back to this covenant over and over, as often as rainbows. So there's the reminder factor, the repetition factor, but God also covenants based on what God wants to promise, not what God wants to receive. We are not going to write a covenant today, but I'd like you to start thinking, what do you want to promise into this congregation? And how would it help you to be reminded of that promise? What do you want to give? And how would you like the invitation to share that gift to feel to you? Please join with me in words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And I close with the words of Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Go in peace.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers,